Hey guys, welcome to another great day of online learning. Um, we're going to get into our next unit here, biology. Today, I'm just going to talk about the 7 characteristics of living things. Now, you don't have to make a note on this. I just want you to have an understanding because we're going to continue to come back to it. So there's 7 characteristics of living things. If an organism doesn't meet all 7 of these, they're not considered living. So every living thing must hit all 7 of these. If they don't, they're not living. So the first one, organisms got to grow and develop. Uh, Pretty simple. They all have to acquire energy. So they have to get some form of energy. If they're autotrophs, they're going to use sunlight. If they're heterotrophs, they're going to find some type of food source. But they are going to figure out how to obtain energy or obtain nutrients, and then they're going to produce some type of product. The third one, got to be able to reproduce, whether sexually or asexually. If something cannot reproduce, that's the end of the line. That's it for the generation. The organism has become extinct. So you got to be able to reproduce. Number 4, they have to respond to stimuli. So you have to be able to adapt to some form of energy, whether it's phototropism, which is shown here, where a plant is moving towards a light. If you put a plant near your window, the plant would move towards that light source, so it would start to grow towards the light source. If you put your hand in boiling hot water, your hand would jump up and move immediately. So you have to be able to respond. Maintaining homeostasis. So that's maintaining a constant internal environment. Some organisms can go outside of the range and not stay consistent, but for the most part, we got to maintain a constant internal environment. So that's like having a temperature of 98.6 degrees. If we sway too low or too high, then our vital organs and their enzymes inside of our body will stop working, and it'll shut down. Number 6, there's got to be some type of order and organization. Now, some organisms are single-cell organisms, but being a single-celled organism, they can still carry out all these 7 characteristics within one cell. They have specific organelles that can help them carry out everything. As humans, we are multicellular. We have specialized so that we have certain cells to do certain things. So those cells have changed to help us carry out whatever form we need. And number 7, things have to be able to adapt. Things have to change and evolve to be able to survive. Here's an example of mimicry. This is a great way things have adapted. This snake on the left-hand side here is a poisonous, venomous snake. The one on the right is not, but its lines and its colors suggest that it's poisonous, just like this one. So predators will think that this is a poisonous snake when really it's not. There are some insects do this all the time. There are flies that take on the characteristics of bees. Okay, this is where I actually want you to get this note down. So you can pause it at any time and you can get this information down. So the cell theory. So all living things are made up of at least one or more cells. You can't be considered living if you're not made up of cells. And the cell is the simplest unit that can carry out all life functions, which I said before. A single-celled organism can carry out all those 7 characteristics of living things. And all cells come from pre-existing cells. I know we just got done winter. You normally have chapped lips or dry skin in the winter, and those old cells are dying, and we're replenishing them with new ones. So this is what mitosis looks like. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks. But all cells come from pre-existing cells. Okay. Now, there's 2 main types of cells. There are prokaryotic cells and there are eukaryotic cells. This is a picture, this is a good example of a cartoon picture of both. Now you can kind of look at these and you can definitely tell some similarities right off the bat. This one over here, this is a eukaryotic cell. We are made up of eukaryotic cells. They are a lot more complex. This cell is actually much bigger than this cell here. It can be up to like 250 times bigger than these prokaryotic cells. There's a lot more going on inside of this eukaryotic cell. Inside this eukaryotic cell, we have a membrane-bound nucleus. And in this nucleus is where you're going to find all the DNA and all the information that's going to carry out the cell function or whatever the cell wants to do. Over here, there's no nucleus. These prokaryotic cells do have DNA, but they're kind of just floating inside of the cell, inside of the cytoplasm. There's a lot of membrane-bound organelles. So you can see that there's some like form of membrane around a lot of these organelles, whereas in prokaryotic cells you don't really see that. So what kind of living things are made up of these cells? So for the most part, bacteria are made up of prokaryotic cells. And these prokaryotic cells, like I said, are really small. You actually have more bacteria on the outside of your body then you have cells that make up your body. And the reason is because they're super small. Got a lot of bacteria on the outside of us. Doesn't necessarily mean that's bad. We get a lot of good bacteria inside of our body and on the outside of our body, trying to keep us healthy. Everything else, for the most part, is made up of eukaryotic cells. So animals, plants, fungi. This will change. You'll get a better understanding of these cells if you take grade 11 bio. So we're just looking at them. I do want you to get down the similarities and differences between these. So some of the differences, prokaryotes do not have membrane-bound organelles. So if you look over here, the eukaryotic cells, they do have membrane-bound organelles. Prokaryotic cells do not have that. Prokaryotic cells do not contain a nuclear envelope. Okay, so this is its DNA. The DNA is just floating within the cytoplasm. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus, and that's where you can find all the DNA. Prokaryotic cells are a lot smaller, which I said, and they're a lot less complex. If you look at this one, there's not as much going on as in the eukaryotic cell. Some similarities, they both contain DNA. Okay? It just looks a little bit different in how it's I can't even speak. How it's like compartmentalized inside of there. Both have a cell membrane. If you look on the outside, so there's some type of membrane that encloses all this. There's actually, bacteria actually have a cell membrane and then a cell wall on the outside of it that'll actually differentiate it between a eukaryotic cell. When you get sick, you go to the doctors and they prescribe you antibiotics. The antibiotics work by not killing these ones. The reason that they kill these ones is because bacteria have an extra cell wall on it. Cell walls are normally not found in human cells. So the antibiotics are going to kill everything with this exterior cell on it. Now it's going to kill some good bacteria too. That's why you should take probiotics while you're taking your antibiotics. And they both have organelles. So all these little things are called organelles. Organelle just kind of means little organ. So all these little organelles, they do something for the cell, and that is where we're going to go next. So you guys are going to create a chart on the function of these organelles, and then you're going to create a little analogy to go with it that I'm going to mark. So if you guys have any questions, don't forget, use the Google Doc that I have on our webpage. I'll answer any questions as fast as I can, and hope you guys are having a good day. See ya.